First off, just want to say I want to mention Edwin Jackson. Today's his birthday, and obviously gone but not forgotten, and just sending out a special prayer and thoughts to his family and everything today. We obviously miss him, and he's a ultimate example of Georgia Southern man. And but also today was signing day for 2019, and very excited about this class. What I'm really excited about this class is we had an opportunity all year with our coaches to really do our homework, to really evaluate, to try to go find the Georgia Southern man in each of these guys. And these guys are really good fits. They fit our offense, our defense, and they fit our program. And very excited about them. Looking forward to get them here. We got several that'll be reporting mid-year. And then we got, obviously the rest that'll be coming in the early part of summer. So very excited about them. Looking forward to them being Georgia Southern Eagles.
Coach, seems like you went a little heavy on the offensive line and maybe in the secondary.
Yeah, offensive line was important to us. We're losing, Curtis Rainey and Culbreth and guys like that. But also, too, fitting our system, we wanted to really identify some athletic guys that had the skill set, but also the toughness and power that we need. Guys that are athletic that could play out on the edge at the tackle spot. We've kind of already addressed our needs with the interior part, and the outside edge part at the tackle was something that was important to us as we went.
Is there a particular size or speed, or what are you looking for in an O-line?
Well, size is important as far as height, length, mass, but I think the room to grow and then the athletic ability is something that we really needed to make sure we paid attention to this year, and all years when we do it. But just as we grow as a program, as we grow with our identity and our philosophy, I just think it's important that we go get guys that are very athletic.
Your secondary guys that you got fairly tall for Georgia Southern.
Yeah. We did look at length there. I thought secondary was very important for us this year. One, losing Sean Freeman and Josh Moon at safety, we're going to need some immediate help there, and we've got some guys obviously that are here that'll step up. But we need some competition there. We need some depth there. So we definitely needed to go that route. And then at our two corner spots with Kendall and Man, they're very good corners, and going into their senior year, we got to make sure that we're grooming people and then also have depth there also. So I thought it was very important we did that. But length and athleticism was something that we really targeted.
Can you give us a little insight into the skill position guys? You got a couple of running backs in the corner.
Yes, just starting out, the running backs were guys, if you look at Gerald Green, he's a guy that really put up some impressive numbers this year at the high school level, and he's a guy that has juice. He's a guy that has power. I think he definitely fits the mold of a Georgia Southern running back. And then the ability to have, to get a transfer in J.D. King, I think that's really big. I think J.D. King's a guy that can come in and, he already knows how college football works. He's a guy that will, add immediate leadership to our program. So very excited about those two. And then Jaden Jenkins, our quarterback, he's a guy that we targeted early. We saw him in the spring, did a tremendous job there, and got him on campus a good bit, spent time with him and his family like we did all our recruits. But just trying to make sure he had that it about him. Anytime you sign a quarterback, you got to have a guy with the it factor, and he's really demonstrated that. And when you look at his senior season, he had a rough start to start off his high school year, but I believe, and I may be wrong on this, I believe after an 0-2 start, they went on a long run, maybe 10, 11 games straight where they won. And he was a big part of that. He was the focal point of their offense. So, and then watching him play as a senior, he really grew as a leader. He grew as a player. And I think he's a guy that could come in and compete right away.
Recruiting is obviously something that you're known for as well. Coach Sloan has been known for when he was at Appalachia State. What are your philosophies when you're going out there? What are you looking for?
Well, the evaluation piece is what's really big for Georgia Southern. I think it's very important that we go out and we find guys that fit what we're doing here. We talk about it all the time about not being sexy but being blue collar, and we got to go get guys that want to work, guys that have a chip on their shoulder, guys that want to prove that they are good football players. And I think we did that, and our coaching staff did a tremendous job of going out and finding those types of guys. And then the recruiting piece, obviously, is evaluation to start with, but then the relationship piece. I think that's real big. You got to get to know the kid. You got to get to know the family. You got to know the people that are important to them, and then you got to get them around our players. I take tremendous feedback from our players because I think it's very important that those guys do fit when they get here. So, there's a lot of different things you got to look at in recruiting, and I think we do a good job of trying to be thorough.
A lot of people tend to get enamored with the stars. How many stars is this guy? How many stars is that? Where do they rank in the Sun Belt? Right now you're predicted somewhere around 4th in the league, but how much does that chip on the shoulder? How much of that, are you guys paying attention?
I've been at places before where you paid attention to stars, and it can end up being very good for you. It can also end up being very bad because it does come down to fit and making sure it fits with your current players, it fits with what your philosophy is. To be honest with you, I haven't looked at any rankings this year. I haven't looked at any stars. When I look at a guy's tape, I watch his film. I don't look up what offers he has. I don't look up who's recruiting him. Now, when you get into recruiting and you decide, who you're going against, yeah, you got to know that. But when I initially eval somebody, I don't even want to be tainted by looking at that. That's not what's important. What's important is, do they fit here? Can they do what we can do, and can they compete at a high level?
Do you feel like the success you guys had, the turnaround you had, and maybe the stability that it seems that you guys are starting to build helped you a lot this year in recruiting?
No question. You can see last year, I think we signed 8 at mid-year, and a lot of that was by choice because we needed to get a coaching staff in place, and we needed to make sure our identity and our philosophy was on the same page. You see this year we ended up high number at mid-year, and that's where we want to be. We want to be trying to get our class done at mid-year. Now, we'll always save 3 or 4 spots for January recruiting, but we're going to get most of our work done. So I think what you've seen this year is just a lot of efforts for our hard work with our coaching staff and what they've done with their evaluations and their recruiting.
Anything in particular you're holding those back for the February signing?
We will look at possibly the tight end position. We'll look at the wide receiver position. We possibly will go a kicker. And so that's kind of the things we're working through right now.
Last year, the staff gets put together by January, and those guys hit the ground running. Now that you've had a full cycle and full year, what comparisons would you make between putting this class together like you have so far and how last year's came together?
Well, I do think last year's class was a good class. I really do. And this is not to take away from them. I think this class is more built on what we're trying to do here. Not necessarily that the guys last year don't fit that. It was just we were able to put more homework and more time into these guys. Regardless of what we were ranked last year compared to what we're ranked this year in the recruiting, I see us continuing to upgrade.
With the new red shirt rule and this year being the first application of that, how much more does it give you guys in talking to potential players that, hey, it's not that you're going to have to sit your entire first year. You could possibly see action right away, and maybe up to 4 games if you play even better, you may see yourself as a regular guy.
I haven't had to talk much about the redshirt rule. My philosophy on freshmen is we're going to give them every opportunity to play as a freshman. So we've got 7, I believe, coming mid-year. Possibly 8. I'd have to recount that. But those guys right there are going to obviously get 15 practices during spring, and that's going to give them a leg up on the remaining freshmen that are coming in. But when I start talking about freshman playing time, I tell those guys all the time, you're going to have the opportunity to come in and compete. I'm never going to tell them they're going to start or anything like that. I think they got to come in and earn it. But we don't have to talk about the 4-game rule because they're going to get their opportunity. Then, if they're not ready and they need a red shirt, we'll look into the 4 games.
You've got 5 states represented here. There's always going to be strength in recruiting the state of Georgia. But how important was it, one, to try to put as much of a wall around this area as you can, but at the same time branch off and find different players in other areas that can coach you guys?
It's really important that we recruit the state of Georgia. I think that I know it's good high school football. It's great coaches. I mean, it's the place where we need to make our living. So I think we've demonstrated that with this class. But we also have good states around us with Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and everybody that touches the state of Georgia, we're going to constantly work, and we're going to stay within that radius. We may venture outside of that, but that would only be for 1 or 2 people, but we're going to stay in our recruiting area.
I know last year was tough for a lot of different reasons. You already brought up Edward. It's been less than a year since that happened, but with how last season went, and then also losing guys like Ben Holt, like Danny Durham, Pat Barr, being able to win the game, the ball game, like you did to close everything out, how much more special was it to honor those guys that gave so much to the program?
Man, this season has been, I'd say, a miracle season, just because of things like that. I mean, not only for our current players, but our former players, not only for our school, but also our fan base. And so, I think this season was really a gift to everyone because of things like that. And, I know that the guys that left us early, I know they're smiling and they're happy with what Georgia Southern football has done.
West Point guys coming off with 2-10, there's that perspective that is Georgia Southern going to stay down, but you come out with a 10-3 record, now going into 19, you're probably going to be looked at as one of the favorites in the East, off a double-digit win season. How do you keep that same fire now that teams are going to be looking at Georgia Southern the way that they did just a couple of years ago?
If our guys come in January when it's time to report to school and they've got the big head and they think that they've arrived, they're sadly mistaken. There's plenty of things off of this season that we can teach off of. We snuck up on some people early, and then when we got the target on our back, we slid a little bit. Our guys did a really good job of responding and finishing the season. We didn't always play great on the road. We wanted to win every game at Paulson. We didn't do that. We wanted to win a Sun Belt championship. We did not do that. So there's plenty of things that we need to do. And this was a great season. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not taking away anything from that. But our guys need to understand what it is to be at Georgia Southern. They need to understand the expectations. And you look at our schedule next year; it's a difficult one, and our guys need to understand that. And we got to understand that we're going to have to bring it even more next year. We got to learn how to play with our target on our back, and we got to learn how to play better on the road.
I have one more. You mentioned the former players, and I know there's so many former players that are coaching, especially in the state of Georgia. Most people look at it and say, that's great, and I'm sure it does come out to help you. But how hard is it when they're saying, Coach, we got this guy, and you're just like, I just can't. We're full, or that position we don't really need right now. How much of a balancing act is that for you as a coach?
It is hard because, any given year, the most you can sign is 25. And there's more than 25 players in the state of Georgia. And obviously there's other schools that come recruit this state. It is hard. It's hard to manage. But where I think it's important is that when a former player or whatnot reaches out to you, that you pay attention and you evaluate and you give them feedback and you tell them why you can or cannot take the kid. And I think once you do that, I think everything works out for itself. If you ignore it, that's when you get in trouble. So I think we do a good job of that. I'm sure that sometimes we may slip up and not necessarily go all the way like we should with that, but we try very, very hard to make sure that we communicate.